So greetings everyone present today in the 19th Journal Club of Pan India. Before we go into the session proper, I'll be giving a brief introduction on the PAN organization. So this was begun in the September of 2022 in India, and with the fundamental idea of prevention always being better than cure. So in the same way, we are the grassroots levels beginning by trying to imbibe this ideology in the medical students itself, which are leading the journal clubs right now. With multiple health problems around the corner, Pan India is organizing various modus operandis to um, advocate better health by organizing in-person CMEs, online sessions such as discussion forums, journal clubs, um, and a strong social media outreach. So the PAN team is headed by our director, Dr. Razina Shaheen, and it also houses really spirited volunteers, interns, ambassadors, which include a huge range of people, beginning right from the medical students to working doctors, practicing nutritionists, and much more. All of you who support us always in these sessions by joining us. With all of us goals moving towards the goal of improving this broken nutrition plate. And it's quite evident that the team is growing, so we always welcome each and everyone who wants to join this movement with open hands. Um, Coming to today's topic, it is whether dietary patterns can predict death. And all the time we've been focusing on the morbidity aspect, but now it's a quite an interesting session where we'll look about the mortality aspect too. So this is a topic for today is can dietary patterns predict death, which is a look at the NHANES data, which will be presented by Shobia and Navya Paul. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. So today we'll be looking into this particular topic, can dietary pattern predict death? A look at the NHANES data, that's the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. So we will be talking about this particular study, the association between diet quality, plant-based diets, systemic inflammation, and mortality risk, findings from NHANES. Let's start with a brief introduction. Let's begin by looking at the global health landscape. In 2024, the global death rate rose slightly to 7.76 deaths per 1,000 people, which is a modest increase from the previous year. And when we look at the broader causes of death, we see a clear pattern. Non-communicable diseases remain the leading killers worldwide. In fact, 7 out of 10 top causes of deaths globally are non-communicable, accounting for over 2/3 of all diseases. And among these, heart diseases top the list, responsible for 1 in 3 deaths globally, followed by cancers which account for nearly 1 in 5 deaths. Together, these two conditions alone are responsible for every second death around the world. On the right, you'll be able to see a breakdown from the Lancet illustrating how over 70% of cardiovascular diseases are driven by modifiable risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, smoking, poor diet, and physical inactivity. Now that we have seen how non-communicable diseases, especially cardiovascular disease, remain the top causes of death globally, let's go a little deeper into the role of diet as a role or factor contributing to it. A study published in The Lancet analyzed dietary patterns from over 195 countries and estimated the impact of poor diets on the risk of death from conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. And the results or the findings were striking. In 2021, 1.9 million deaths were attributed to high sodium intake alone, making it the single most impactful dietary risk. And overall, 10.6% of global deaths were associated with poor diets, and nearly a third of cardiovascular deaths could be traced back to unhealthy eating habits. There is also an overlooked dimension of inflammation and obesity, which we'll be looking into in this particular study. Inflammation levels and obesity are key predictors of chronic disease risk. They can mediate the relationship between diet and mortality. On the right bottom, you'll see how an unhealthy diet, rich in trans fats, sugars, and sodium trigger a cascade of harmful effects like obesity, high blood pressure, and endothelial dysfunction, which ultimately leads to cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and cancer. And now, to know what exactly is unhealthy or to assess the diet quality, several indices are used, of which we have mentioned a few here. The Healthy Eating Index 2015 measures how well diets align with the national guidelines, focusing on both adequacy and moderation. Another tool in use is the Pro Vegetarian Diet Index, which scores diets based on the plant and animal sourced foods. Additionally, we have other indices like the overall plant-based dietary index, healthy plant-based dietary index, and unhealthy plant-based dietary index that classify plant foods by their healthfulness, helping us better understand their links to disease risk. I hope I have given an overall idea about the introduction for necessary for understanding the study. Now, next, Navya, can you please explain how the study was conducted and about the study design?
Yes, Shobhya. Starting on the methodology, the data for the paper was obtained from NHANES, which is the National Health Nutrition Examination Survey. It is a survey research program conducted by the National Center for Health Statistics to assess the health and nutritional status of adults and children in the United States. They use data from two timelines, which are from 1999 to 2010, and a second timeline from 2015 to 2018. As mentioned in the left side of the slide, the data is subjected to two types of study design, cross-sectional and longitudinal. The cross-sectional design was conducted on a population of about 27,915, analyzed for associations between the plant-based diets and the grades of inflammation. It was analyzed using a logistic regression method. The longitudinal design was conducted in a population of about 11,939 for analyzing the relationship between dietary indices and all-cause CVD and cancer mortality. The data was analyzed by Cox models. The data was collected by a 24-hour dietary recall conducted in person in the NHANES Mobile Examination Center. The indices used to determine diet quality was Healthy Eating Index 2015. As mentioned in the right side of the slide, the scores were given greater than 80 for a good quality diet, 51 to 80 showed a diet that needed improvement, and a score less than 51 for poor diet quality. Pro-vegetarian diet scored between 12 and 120, and a plant-based dietary index, healthy plant-based diet index, and unhealthy plant-based diet index scored between 18 and 180. Pro-vegetarian diet and plant-based dietary indexes use positive scores for plant-based foods, whereas negative scores for animal-based foods. The inflammation was graded based on the CRP levels with two types of scoring systems. For cross-sectional study, there were two categories, less than 3 milligram per liter for low and greater than 3 milligram per liter for severe. And longitudinal studies having three categories, less than 1 for low, 1 to 3 for moderate, and greater than 3 milligram per liter for high. Mortality was calculated from data obtained from National Death Index up to 2015. Now, Shobhya, can you please tell us about the results obtained after completing the study and the effect of various factors?
Yes, sure. Um, so the study was basically aimed to determine the joint association uh, between the healthy eating index and various indices like the plant-based dietary index, healthy plant-based dietary index, unhealthy plant-based dietary index, and pro-vegetarian diet with CRP and the mortality risks. And further, the joint associations between these indices and systemic inflammation with all-cause CVD and cancer mortality risks. So first, we'll look into the socio-demographic characteristics of the participants included in this cross-sectional analysis. I'll just try to give a concise summary of the key elements. Starting with age, older participants were more likely to score higher on the Healthy Eating Index 2015 and other dietary indices, suggesting that age may correlate with adherence to healthier dietary patterns. Marital status. A great proportion of individuals in the upper tertiles of diet quality were married or living with a partner, which indicates that social relationships may influence dietary choices and adherence to healthy eating guidelines. Also, physical activity was a major factor to be noted. Participants with better diet quality scores tended to be more physically active, suggesting a link between prioritizing diet and engaging in healthier lifestyle choices. Smoking status. Higher tertiles of diet quality were associated with a greater likelihood of being non smokers or ex smokers, reinforcing the idea that healthier dietary habits often accompany other positive health behaviors. Education level. Individuals with higher education levels tended to have better diet quality scores, which may reflect increased awareness and knowledge about nutrition and health. Body mass index. Participants in the higher tertiles of unhealthy plant based dietary index were generally younger and had a higher prevalence of obesity, indicating a potential link between poorer dietary choices and younger age groups. Finally, diet quality scores. The Healthy Eating Index 2015 scores ranged from 8 to 100 with a mean score of 50.4, highlighting that the overall diet quality of participants was relatively poor and indicating a need for improved dietary habits across the population. Now we'll look into the charts of the results. The first chart on screen shows the association between the different dietary indices and the systemic inflammation using odds ratios. So we can see the various dietary indices being listed out on the vertical axis and odds ratio 95% confidence interval on the horizontal axis or the x-axis. And this chart has been divided into three parts. Showing representing all participants, participants with obesity, and participants without obesity. So on the x-axis, we see odds ratio with 95% confidence interval plotted, and 1 is the line of no effect. Less than 1 means lower odds of systemic inflammation, which indicates a positive or a protective effect. And at the same time, more than 1 shows higher odds or increased risk of inflammation. Also, we see T1, T2, 3 on the vertical axis or the y-axis, which are tertiles like T1, the lowest adherence to the diet, and T3 showing the highest adherence to the diet. Now, looking into the results or the analysis of the chart, with regards to Healthy Eating Index 2015 and Healthy Plant-Based Dietary Index, we find that as the diet quality improves from lower tertiles to higher tertiles, that's T1 to T3, better adherence to the diet, odds of systemic inflammation reduces in all participants and especially in the non-obese participants. And further, in people with obesity, benefit is less pronounced. That is, the confidence intervals are wider and closer to 1. Unhealthy plant-based diet moving from T1 to T3 increases the odds of systemic inflammation, notably more than 1 and significant. And looking into pro-vegetarian diet, it's similar to the Healthy Eating Index and Healthy Plant-Based Dietary Index. Better adherence to the diet lowers the odds of inflammation and is strongest in the non-obese group. Next, we'll be looking into the next chart, where this chart shows the joint association of Healthy Eating Index 2015 with T1, T2, T3, and the systemic inflammation, which is HSCRP, low, moderate, and severe, with 5 different charts. That's all cause mortality. B is for all cause mortality in non obese, C, all cause mortality in obese, D, cardiovascular mortality, and E, the cancer mortality. Over here, we have the hazard ratio, 95% confidence interval, plotted on the y-axis, categorized by tertiles of diet quality on the x-axis within each CRP category. a short idea about how to read this graph. The lower the hazard ratio, it indicates reduced mortality risk, and hazard ratio more than 1, that's higher hazard ratio, shows increased risk. And the dotted line is no effect or hazard ratio 1. And from this chart, we can analyze that better diet, T3, that's higher adherence to the diet, consistently lowers the mortality risk compared to poor diet, particularly in the low and moderate inflammation categories. However, in severe inflammation, where the CRP is high, the protective effect of diet weakens and the hazard ratios approaches 1. This could suggest that once inflammation is severe, the benefit of diet alone in reducing mortality diminishes. And now if we look at it panel-wise, that's A, B, C, D, and E. First looking at A, that's all-cause mortality in total population. We see a clear drop in the hazard ratio from T1 to T3 in low or moderate CRP. But however, in severe inflammation, the benefit is less. Moving to the chart B, that's for non-obese participants, we note a similar pattern, but there's a greater reduction, indicating the non-obese individuals may benefit more from the diet quality. Then chart C, for obese participants, the diet effect is modest, but here we know that the confidence intervals are wider, which may say that obesity may blunt the benefit of healthy eating. Chart D, for cardiovascular disease mortality, we note a sharp reduction in hazard ratio with better diet in low or moderate CRP. And also there's in severe CRP group, there is no clear advantage noted. And the last chart for E, cancer mortality, we see a similar trend again, but the confidence intervals here are wider and there's less consistent association. Overall, we can note that a better quality diet may reduce mortality, particularly when the systemic inflammation is low to moderate. Further, severe inflammation and obesity may limit the survival benefits of healthy eating. So that was about the results of the study. And now, let's look a bit more into the study and discuss about what we can learn from the study. Navya, can you please help us with the discussion?
Sure, why not, Shobya? The paper discussed showed that the higher compliance to diet following the healthy eating index, overall a healthy plant-based diet index, pro-vegetarian diet showed lower levels of inflammation as well as reducing the risk of inflammatory diseases. Contrary to popular belief, many recent papers have associated various non-communicable diseases as a product of inflammation, like atherosclerosis and cancer. Hence, health practitioners should be encouraged to treat such diseases by reducing inflammation. In the next slide, we will be talking about uh, higher healthy eating index scores, which is linked to a lower level of inflammation. This is measured by high sensitivity CRP. It is seen that obesity increases pro-inflammatory cells like beta cells, mast cells, neutrophils, and reduces anti-inflammatory cells like eosinophils, CD4 cells, and thereby causing adipose tissue inflammation. Focusing on the figure, it shows us that adipocyte accumulation leads to a reduction in blood supply. This causes a hypoxia, which can induce cell necrosis, leading to an inflammation. It also leads to increase in adipocytokine production, leading to inflammation. These inflammatory cells then travel to other parts of the body, like the liver and muscles, and interfere with the action of insulin, making cells resistant to insulin, leading to metabolic syndromes. The study also uses various plant-based diet indices, as mentioned by Shobya in the introduction, like plant-based diet index, healthy and unhealthy plant-based diet index, and the next slide will tell us about how this affected. So it was seen that plant-based diet index, healthy and unhealthy plant-based diet index, and caused decrease in inflammation. The study showed a 15 to 21% reduced risk by following healthy plant-based dietary index. It was noted that people who regularly consume refined grains and sugar-sweetened beverages are more susceptible to inflammation and hence have an increased inflammatory markers. Replacing animal foods with plant-based diet also reduced inflammation by about 12 to 15%. Animal foods like red meat and processed meat are known to have high levels of saturated and trans fats. This leads to an increase in level of CRP, IL-6, and TNF-alpha, and also activates toll-like receptors on immune cells. They also contain heme iron, which promotes oxidative stress and lipid peroxidation. Grilling and frying of meat increases advanced glycation end products, which promotes cytokine release. It is also seen that additives like nitrates and nitrites, commonly seen in processed meat, leads to formation of nitrosamines, which is known as pro-inflammatory substance and a potential carcinogen. The next slide, we discuss the association between diet, inflammation, and mortality. It shows us that a 21% lowered risk of mortality of all causes in both men and women, a 24% decreased risk of CVD in men, and 25% decrease in women. Focusing on the graph below, it shows a similar result to our studies about the relationship between all-cause mortality and plant-based diet index. The green graph shows us a relationship between overall plant-based diet index, whereas the red graph shows a relationship with unhealthy plant-based dietary index. It shows it shows that there's a decrease in mortality in overall plant-based dietary index and an increase in seen in case of unhealthy plant-based diet index. It also shows the hazard ratio, which is given as 0.93 in case of overall plant-based dietary index and a 1.14 in case of unhealthy plant-based diet index, which indicates that a better outcome is seen when following an overall plant-based dietary index due to a lower hazard ratio. The second image shows another study that compares the two dietary indexes, which is dietary inflammatory index and healthy eating index. The graph shows a Lasso-Cox regression, which is a method of analysis. In the graph, you can see a red line, which indicates a high diet risk, and a blue line, which shows a low diet risk. The people with lower diet risk tends to have better survival outcomes. In the next slide, we will discuss about how the plant-based dietary index provides antioxidants, phytochemicals, and fibers. Now let's have a look at how this helps in the long term. Our normal metabolism produces byproducts called as free radicals. These molecules can cause oxidative stress, damages cells, and triggers inflammatory responses. Antioxidants donate electrons to the free radicals, and these molecules thereby helping stabilize them. Some antioxidants can also inhibit enzymes in pathways that promote inflammation. Phytochemicals are also a type of antioxidants and hence work in the same mechanism as explained. Flavonoids, tannins, and polyphenols are common phytochemicals found in vegetables and fruits. Fiber is also known to influence gut microbiome and promote production of beneficial short-chain fatty acids, which helps modulate immune response and improve gut health, leading to reduced inflammation. It is also seen that plant-based diets, especially those with high fiber, promote production of hormones like peptide YY and glucagon-like peptide 1, which signals fullness and reduces appetite. Additionally, it improves insulin sensitivity, which is crucial for regulating blood sugars and appetite. This helps balance weight and metabolism. It is also important to note that even when choosing plant-based diets, we have to be mindful to choose our plates such that we exclude or minimize processed foods. All these help us to improve the cholesterol levels, reduce inflammation, and other risk factors for cardiac and metabolic disease. In the next slide, we will discuss about some common food groups that we should strive to add to our daily diet. Starting with fruits, which are rich in antioxidants and vitamins that improve immune function and lowers inflammation. Vegetables for fibers and phytochemicals. Whole grains that are high in fiber improves gut health. Legumes for proteins and fiber promote satiety. Nuts and seeds are packed with healthy fats and antioxidants. We should also incorporate omega-3 rich foods like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. We should also aim to reduce the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. These beverages have high sugar content and calories that are readily converted into fats. It does not give us a feeling of fullness unlike solid food. Hence should be replaced by alternatives like water or unsweetened drinks. Increased intake of fruits and vegetables is shown to be a cost-effective approach to prevent CVD in poor countries. It is advised to have at least 4 servings of fruits and at least 5 of vegetables per day to reduce risk. Better outcome was seen on reducing intake of red meat like pork, mutton, beef, lamb, and processed meat like bacon, canned meat, ham, and hot dogs. Increasing dietary intakes of nuts also helps with a better outcome as they contain unsaturated fats, proteins, fibers, vitamins, minerals, phenolic antioxidants, and other bioactive compounds. Increased sodium intake was also associated with increased blood pressure and higher CVD risk. Hence, as per the WHO guideline, we must limit our salt consumption to about 5 grams per day. In the next slide, we will be talking about another study about food groups and risk of all-cause mortality, a systemic review and meta-analysis of prospective studies. It shows us the graphs are obtained from the results and the results summarized as the tables in the right side. The food groups like whole grains, legumes, and nuts have a protective effect, whereas food groups like red meat and processed meat have a harmful effect. As you can see, just 2 servings of whole grains shows a reduced risk by 21%, whereas uh, just 3 servings of red meat shows an increased risk by about 35%. This, as you can see in the table above, the study also shows that a consumption of 2 servings of 200 grams per day of fish was associated with 10% reduction in all-cause mortality. But the evidences based on the study says that the effect is often attributed to omega-3 fatty acids, lean protein, and certain micronutrients like selenium and iodine. But these can also be substituted by plant-based foods. It is also to be noted that only a 10% reduction is seen, whereas this is equal or less when compared to plant-based diets. Whole grains can attribute a 21% risk reduction, nuts a 15% reduction, legumes a 10% reduction. Thus, plant foods provide comparable or superior protection, often with additional effects of fiber, phytochemicals, and no cholesterol. Uh, Fish is also a source of toxins like methyl mercury, dioxins, and PCBs linked to cancer and neurotoxicity. Instead, it's better to substitute it with plant-based omega-3 alternatives like I explained in the previous slide, flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts, which contain ALA. On to the next slide, we will be talking about the strengths and limitations of the study. The strengths of the study is that it has a large sample size, hence it can attribute to an average adult population. There's a longer follow-up duration. It used a face-to-face dietary recall, hence has a better diet quality, and it is also one of the few papers that discusses this topic. The limitations include diet data does not account for diet changes, missing data, then single dietary recall does not represent the long-term habits. Inflammation is only measured by CRP. It's an observational study design. Confounding may exist and a wide confidence interval. In the next slide, the takeaway message for this paper is that a higher compliance to Healthy Eating Index 2015 and Healthy Plant-Based Dietary Index leads to lower inflammation. Unhealthy plant-based dietary index leads to higher inflammation. It also shows that adherence to dietary guidelines leads to reduction in mortality, can also reduce inflammation in obese individuals. We should hence reduce animal-based food sources and increase intake of healthy plant-based foods for higher diet quality. It also encourages us to consider pro and anti-inflammatory nutrients and create diet plans based on obesity and inflammatory status. Future scope for research includes using more inflammatory markers, using a diverse population, and having more dietary assessments. Along with this, it is important to note that dietary modifications alone does not help. We need to incorporate healthy amounts of exercise to our daily routine for maximum benefit. Exercise is shown to increase myokines, which inhibits pro-inflammatory substances and produces anti-inflammatory substances. It reduces visceral fats, thereby reducing inflammation, improves immune regulation by increasing regulatory T cells and reducing pro-inflammatory monocytes. It also boosts the body's antioxidant enzyme system, enhances blood vessel function, and reduces stress hormones. We should also adopt a healthy lifestyle and avoid habits like smoking and alcohol consumption. Smoking triggers release of various cytokines, causes oxidative stress, and disrupts gut microbiome. Alcohol consumption also leads to disruption of gut lining, leading to increased permeability to even toxins, triggers release of cytokines, oxidative stress, and damages the liver. In the next slide, I will conclude by saying that not only do plant-based diets have healthy benefits, but also shows environmental and socio-economic benefits. It helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions, decreases deforestation, and conserve water. It also requires fewer resources and hence is economical option for regions with fewer resources. Hence, following a plant-based diet helps with sustainable development and improving planetary health.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's a great job, Navya and Shobya. So you have very well explained, clearly laid out all the points and well explained. So overall, it is very informative and well presented. So can you, Shobya, can you just tell that is only the dietary changes alone reverse the chronic inflammation?
Yes, ma'am. I'll try answering the question. So, like from the study that we have discussed today, it shows that improving the diet quality and increasing healthy plant-based foods can reduce systemic inflammation markers. But however, this is just an observational data and it can't really prove complete reversal and benefits, which are like less clear in cases of severe inflammation, especially. So the true reversal, like about the chronic inflammation, might require a much more holistic approach, which includes a proper diet, better lifestyle, and potential medical support. And like even Navya had discussed towards the end, that diet alone might not be able to alter the health status, but it might need a bit more of lifestyle changes and medical support as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
Uh,
Uh, yes, Suleiman, answering the question in the chat, I would suggest a diet plate. So you start with a base of vegetables. Choose from a wide variety of colorful vegetables to emphasizing more with anti-inflammatory properties like spinach, kale, broccoli, and bell peppers. They can be served as steamed or roasted vegetables. Fruits should be included. Try to include fruits with which are rich in antioxidants and fibers, like berries, like blueberries, strawberries, apples, and avocados. It can be served as a portion of sliced fruits as a dessert or added to a salad. Legumes and whole grains should be added. Legumes like beans, lentils, chickpeas provide protein and fiber, while whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, and oats offer complex carbohydrates and nutrients. They can serve the brown rice or quinoa as a base, topped with a legume-based protein like lentils stew or a part of vegetable stir fry. Healthy fat should be included, which can be in forms of avocados, olive oils, nuts, and seeds to support overall health and well-being. It can be served as olive oil on the salad. Nuts like almonds and walnuts can be added to salad or on the side. Then you have to add a plant-based protein source like tofu, which can be incorporated as a stir fry. Minimizing problematic food like red and processed meats, refined grains, and added sugars help. And additionally, we can incorporate spices and herbs like our Indian cooking is already known for, especially the ones with anti-inflammatory properties like turmeric, ginger, and garlic. Drink plenty of water throughout the day. Aim for diverse range of plant foods to avoid variety of uh, to have a wide variety of nutrients and consider personal preferences and dietary needs when designing the plate. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that was one we have, like, what is the best way to eat the nuts soaked, ground, and roasted? Few of the evidences say it says that as a whole, it's good to have the nuts. I think we can share in the WhatsApp group that we have an one of the systemic review on that. We can have the whole nuts, so which reduces the helps in CVD, controlling the CVD as well. So thank you all for your active participation in this today's JC. So also we look forward you to bring the another. We'll just bring the another insightful session in the month of the August. So I request if any suggestions for any future topics, please drop it them in the chat box. And your feedbacks are also welcome. And also that it truly motivates us to keep improving and also to curating that more meaningful discussions. So please, and also this one. I think in the beginning of the chat box we have one link which will be helpful, and also you can register in that that PANCO, which is an international group. Then you will. Sorry for the background noise. So that really, I think you get all of them can explore globally, so which are aligning with the same work. So I request all register to that, and you can go through the link and just register. Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Until next time, stay curious and stay inspired. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.